Hello, this is Andrew Collinson at the Digital Entertainment 2.0 Brainstorm in London in May 2011. I'm the Research Director of STL Partners. I'm here today with Rob Salter from Tesco. Hi, Rob.
Hello.
Hi. Would you mind introducing yourself to me and the viewers?
I'm Rob Salter. I'm the Media and Entertainment Director at Tesco, which means I have responsibility for our businesses of gaming, music, movies, newspapers, magazines and books. So all of the published media categories that we currently sell in Tesco through our multi-channels today.
And just to clarify, Tesco is the largest retailer in the UK, I think, and position in the world retail?
I think we're number 3 in world retailing, but yes, certainly the largest retailer in the UK.
So certainly, you know, a very major player. And why have you got why do you, in a way, why does your job exist? Why do you have a digital entertainment, as it were, role for Tesco, essentially a supermarket?
Well, I think the great thing about Tesco is that we always look to follow what our customers are interested in doing and always look to provide them with the services and products that they want to buy. And as we've seen over the last few years, consumers starting to look at digital as a way of consumption of all sorts of things like movies and music, and we see our role as taking our customers on that journey as they migrate from perhaps buying physical goods to one where they're more interested in digital. We want to provide those services and products to them.
So that move from physical to digital, and in this sense we mean distribution, so distribution of media online and so forth, is an important thing for you. How do you see Tesco playing in that?
Well, I think we can provide a number of things. I think customers, there's a lot of confusion, I think, amongst consumers. And if we look at, say, the movie business, for example, we're seeing very small uptake of digital services at the moment. It's still around about 1% of all the consumption. It is still largely a disc-based business. Yeah. What we're interested in is taking the people that still buy discs today in huge quantities and taking them on a journey to digital, using the physical product bundled with digital rights that mean they can choose when they want to move from one to the other. So the marriage of physical and digital, I think, is a very important concept that we'll see more and more of, certainly in 2012, where people will be able to buy those assets bundled together.
So, but at the moment you say it's about 1% is digital. So being is that small, why is it so important?
Well, I think one of the things that we see is that consumers are going to change their habits of consumption. So consumption is part of it. Purchase to own is another part of it. So when people buy a movie from Tesco on a disc or from any retailer, we know that they're buying it to consume it, they're going to watch it. But more importantly, they're collecting. So they're buying a movie and they're putting it in their library, they're putting it on their shelves. The people's tastes in film and music, it's very important to people, it's part of who they are. And it's a very compelling proposition, and we know that people come to our stores to buy those experiences. As they start to consume them in new channels, in new spaces, most of those new channels are going to be important retailing channels. So whether it's mobile devices, television sets, obviously the internet is already fairly well established as a retailing channel, but as people migrate to these new channels and start buying a broad range of goods and services, we think entertainment is a great way of introducing them to those services.
And so you think ownership is an important part of the digital model?
I think it's a hugely important part, because we know that when people enjoy watching content and enjoy buying movies or music or games or books or magazines, and they do consume them, but that's only part of the story. A much greater part of the story is that people are collecting things. Actually, buying and owning a product that you may only consume 1 or 2 times, you could argue is a slightly illogical thing to do. But actually, people do like to collect, and they like to see their collections growing. So in the old analog world, that would be on bookshelves or shelves in their home that they could wander along and review and see what they've got and see their collection growing. I think one of the challenges for digital is that we need to recreate those experiences in a virtual way for people so that they can see their collections growing, they can get to their collections easily, they can review what they have, and of course consume them when they want to as well. And we have to make that a really tangible experience in a virtual sense, in the same way as it is in the physical world.
Absolutely. And today you've been talking, I think, a little bit about the ultraviolet proposition. Could you expand a little bit why that's so important to you?
I think the great thing about ultraviolet is that it's based around some very fundamental premises that I think are right for consumers. The first notion is the idea of buy the title, not the format. So we've lived in a world of taking customers on a journey from one format to the next, VHS to DVD, DVD to Blu-ray, where they're invited to rebuild their collection in a new format. In the ultraviolet world, what we're selling them is a license to that particular piece of content that will live with them in perpetuity. They won't have to keep rebuilding that collection. So I think that's a great concept. Secondly, it is a world in which it's a device agnostic world and to some degree a retailer agnostic world. People can freely buy content from a range of retailers. They can shop around. They're not confined to buying from one particular place, and they'll be able to consume that content on any device that's compatible with the UV model. So it implies a world in which people can freely buy content from wherever they like and play it and share it on a range of devices. We think that's a very compelling proposition.
So you really see ultraviolet as a step change, and this whole movement to digital ownership of indeed online and digital streaming and ownership of digital media as a step change in the marketplace.
Yes, I think the fact that it links physical to digital, it takes the thing that people are overwhelmingly choosing to do today, buying discs, and takes them on a journey to this new digital experience. It adds that experience into the existing one, I think is very compelling. And it means that the consumer's in control of when they decide to move from, if they do decide to move entirely to a digital consumption world, it will be them that decides when that happens. We'll help them on that journey. What we won't do is tell them that the discs are, is a sort of cul-de-sac that they should stop buying discs and then try and encourage them into this new space.
So it's about extending the current business model as well in that respect. Finally, Rob, can I just ask you about Blinkbox? I know that Blinkbox is a company you've acquired recently. Can you give me a quick explanation of what it is and how you see the fit with Tesco?
Yes. So I think one of the things that we know that customers are really interested in is content that's available to them freely, either through ad funding or just free content. We also know that video on demand is growing in popularity, and Blinkbox fundamentally is a consumption website where people can go and choose to consume content through video on demand or downloading, or in some cases free. It also offers subscription options where people can get access to a large library of content for a fixed fee. And we think those services are compelling, particularly when we combine them with some of the other consumption opportunities. So to illustrate the point, if somebody came to Blinkbox and chose to buy a VOD product, we would like to be able to offer that customer the chance to then go on and own that product. If they really liked it, they might say, actually, I'd now like to buy that product. We'd like to marry those two experiences together.
So it's about having a range of physical try to buy stuff online, which is kind of Blinkbox, and the ownership, the online digital ownership model, which is the ultraviolet. So you really see it yourselves being a sort of complete player in that space.
Yeah, so we put the power in the hands of the consumer. If they want to buy a physical product, if they want to buy a digital product, if they want to rent a product either digitally or physically, all of these options, and some link between the two so they can move up and down. Because I think we do believe that consumers will be doing some or all of those things for quite some time, and that most folks won't necessarily be all in one space and not in another. So something that allows them to navigate around those different experiences in a fairly seamless way seems pretty compelling to us.
Rob, thank you very much.
Okay.